Arthur,
Yeah.
I just wanted to discuss with you about something before the live starts.
Yeah,
I think-
tell me, we have 30 seconds.
Perfect. That's exactly what we need. I think just, to dynamize maybe a bit the live, what we could do is to create some kind of jingle, a music for the Odoo Insider.
Yeah, why not?
I have an idea in mind. You want to hear it?
I'm unsure about that, but let's go.
Okay, so it could be like partners, what you gonna do when Odoo comes for you, partners. What do you
I
think?
have another idea in mind because otherwise it's a no for me.
Okay, I have actually a second idea. I don't know if you know the name that we give to the implementation methodology here
Yeah,
at
it's,
Odoo.
Quick start, yeah.
Quick start, yes. It could be like quick start Odoo, do, quick start Odoo, do, quick start.
I'm gonna kick you off the show. What the fuck?
Okay, I'm not convinced. Maybe with another idea, it could be better. All
Yeah,
right,
Think about it. Then we'll see.
great, perfect. Well, actually, it's time for the live to start. So, hello everyone, and welcome to this new Odoo Insider session. So today, this is a regular Q&A session as usual, as you can get used to now. So we are at mid-July of this year. As you can see, next week it will be the same, a regular Q&A session where you can come and ask any functional or technical question you may have. So don't hesitate to join for that as well. But be careful that in 2 weeks, you also get a very special session about electronic invoicing, especially for people in Europe. It could be a chance for you to ask questions about the localization for your specific country to see exactly what is planned and what is maybe the roadmap, for Odoo on some topics. This will be Winand or let's say accounting director who's going to give this session. So yes, maybe pin that in your agenda if you want to attend. So yes, as usual, I will ask you to go in the chatter of LinkedIn or on YouTube and just try to write your questions so that we can answer them together. It could be really questions about whatever you want. Okay, so there is really no restriction, no, let's say, obvious or complicated question. Here, my idea with this session is for you to exactly understand how we investigate a topic in Odoo, how we find a solution or not, and maybe what we can also suggest in some specific case. So yes, so don't really don't hesitate. Perfect. I see indeed that someone in the chatter said that they started the partner journey officially today. That's really good news. So welcome in this world. And that's good that you are actually here today for this particular event that is going on, that is, let's say, happening every week, because it's a chance for you to, let's say, benefit, from our expertise at Odoo, of course, in let's say, an interactive way, to ask questions that you may have. So really don't hesitate. That's something that we believe, is a good chance just to introduce you to what we do.
I have also other things to say. So for example, as well, so it's not only for partners. For example, last Friday, I went shopping for a new motorbike, and actually they were Odoo clients. And they sadly had a rough start with their partner. They changed now for another one. And they still have some little questions about Odoo. So I also redirected them to the show. So yeah, it's for anybody basically to just learn a bit more about Odoo, because people with more skill it's just better for everyone.
Clearly, it's true. Yeah, it's open for everyone. So that's true that, yes, take the chance. You can also discuss it with people or with your own customers if you want them to join and to ask questions that you don't want to answer by yourself. So yes, don't hesitate for that. So maybe before, let's say, give you the time also maybe to take a look at your questions and send them in the chatter. What we have luckily is that we have some questions that are not answered from previous sessions in the past. And so yes, I'm going to take a look at maybe the first one before we receive some new questions in the chatter. Because this question was actually pretty interesting. So as you can see in the slide, the question is, how can we limit the amount of items that can be rented on the website? Let's say I have 100 items, but only want to allow renting max 10 per person. That's really an interesting question first, but that's a question that is also a bit tricky to answer. Why? It's because, in that case, we need to investigate what is a person on the internet, and what is exactly happening, when someone's going to connect to an e-commerce and to, let's say, get some products to rent or to buy and to put them in their cart. Once we know that, if I just simply go to my website, actually something that I forgot to do before when I was just setting it up, I will also activate and load the demo data in my database, that we have a bit of things that we can use. Yes. But yes, my point here was to make sure, when you get to this question, to understand what a person is. Because basically a person could be just a customer who connects to your website and is going to purchase some goods. But, if someone notices, that on the website he cannot purchase more than 10 units, nothing prevents him to just connect with another account or with in incognito mode, and just decide to purchase it again and again. So this kind of limits on the internet is very complicated to set up, because you cannot really take into account all the cases where you would be willing to limit that. So I'm still going to show you what we can do in practice, in Odoo, in terms of settings to prevent it. But I think in that case, you could also just be deciding that if such a limit is important for you to set up, at that moment, you could decide as well simply to, ask your customers to contact you if they want to rent something, whatever the quantity, and that's then up to you to decide based on the location and on the customer if they should be able to do it or not. So yes, I'm going to show you that. So maybe what you can do is to go on a product list first. Let's imagine, okay, cabinet with doors is something that is in the website, and that's the case. With this price, what I'm going to do is to say that my cabinet with doors is, let's say, set up with a specific price list here. And what I'm going to do is saying that this cabinet with doors, if I reach a quantity of 10, will have a fixed price of 0. A bit weird, you should think, but that's something that we can do. Why? Because if we do that, we could at the same time decide to prevent sales of 0-priced products like this. By just setting up, those two things at the same time, it happens that if at some point I'm going on the website, actually I never tried, but I think it's going to be the right case, cabinet with doors. And there, if I decide to add more than 10 units, yes, but here I'm not in the right prices because I'm in the Benelux one. So let me just maybe adjust a bit as well the Benelux price list that we see it as well. So cabinet with doors started from 10, 0, perfect. If I start again and go to my cabinet with doors, here if I add up to 9, that's okay. If I add up to 10, you see, no, it's not available for sale. And so it's a way then for people to need to contact you from that page, to decide if they can or not rent that product. But as I said, nothing prevents them at the same time to just simply select 9 units, and then connect again, rent again 9 products, and so that you're not really able to check that, from the e-commerce. It's something that is related to Odoo, but it's something that is more related to the way an e-commerce is working. So which means that maybe for that kind of product that are a bit sensitive, what I would suggest, is from the start to put, let's say, the sales price to 0, or at least maybe through the price list only, that indeed actually afterwards then you get some this contact us button that is appearing by default. Okay. All right. So now I see that you get the time then to, let's say, write down a few questions. So let's see. Are you offering internships for finance students or accounting? So for that, yes, you can go actually to our page, indeed, odoo.com/jobs. where you can get when you can see actually all the offers that are available at Odoo. First, you need, of course, to filter it based on the country and on the offices as well that is taken into account. For example, here in Belgium, and I could not this one, but I could indeed look for intern things and see what is happening. Yes, for example, here, for marketing, we have some intern for software developer, and that's mostly this, at least in Belgium. So you need to check a bit, this page, let's say from time to time, and see exactly what is available, at Odoo, and then decide to apply for something like this. But yes, that's something that is, for example, my role at Odoo is a business analyst, and from time to time, indeed, we decide to recruit some new intern in the business analyst field as well. So that could be, for example, in that case, for finance or students, for example. For accounting, it's maybe a bit more rare that we do that, but that's still possible. So yes, just take a look from time to time and see what is possible. All right, next question from Sheikh. How can I add total customer included previous invoices, due amount in invoice layout and print template? All right, so yes, interesting question. So let's first take a look at a contact in Odoo. If I open maybe one of my famous customer, I think DecoAddict in database is a famous customer, yeah. There he gets some sales, but maybe none of these sales has been invoiced yet, so let's do it like this. But let's make some immediate payment. Actually, I'm just going to release it, yes, and put a due date in the past. That they owe us money already. Like this. Once an invoice is created for a customer and it's overdue, we will see appearing here on the accounting, I think, tab somewhere. Actually, maybe I need to activate it. So let's jump in the settings first, and that's a credit limit, something like this. Yes, sales credit limit that we can have, and we can put some by default limit as well. If I activate the settings, what is happening is that I'm going to enable and activate a view on my contact. So on DecoAddict in that case, that's going to show me, the total receivable amount of that customer. Here, so it is this amount, and it is coming from this invoice that I just, those invoices actually that I created, and the ones that have a due date that is reached, like this one. All right, so I have this amount that is there. Once the amount where it is, the next step is to bring it where you want. And that's indeed what you could be willing to do here. First, my role at Odoo is also to convince you to not make customization too quickly. And that's important still to think about that. Because in Odoo, you have something that is planned for that, which is the follow-up, of invoices here. The fact that if you go back to your accounting app, in the configuration, you can set up some follow-up levels, meaning that at some different stages, of the due date latency, let's say, then you get some actions that can be taken, as the fact of sending an email with some specific content, and the fact also to attach the invoices to it. It means that now if I go to my contact menu and to DecoAddict, there I see that there is indeed an action that is needed because I'm 15 days, I'm in this status. And so I can send the reminder automatically to the customer. If I click on it there and I send it, I will already get some predefined content with the outstanding amount, that is displayed, and some, let's say, document summarizing everything that is, linked to that contact with the overdue invoices and the simply due invoices, so things that are still, let's say, there, but that should not be paid directly. It's something that is important for you to know because maybe it's already answered the case and you can just simply use it for you to understand how it goes. In that case, I made it manually, but you need to know that the cron is going to do it on a regular basis. If, let's say, it recognizes that some invoices are overdue and that some follow-up levels are reached. If we take a look at the scheduled actions, yes, here you have the account report follow-up that's going to be executed every day at night in that case. And so that's what's going to happen. So yeah, that's something important to note. But still, if you want it to be displayed on the invoices of the customer for some reason, you can. Because there on the invoice, you get the customer that is there. On the customer, you have this field that we mentioned. I'm just going to see how it is called. Yes, and for that, I need to enable developer mode. All right. So the name of this field is credit. And so if I go to my invoice, I'm just going to do it quickly in that case. For example, I could simply duplicate it like this, edit the source, and so I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. Great. So here, for example, we could add some section. Let's add a simple one, maybe. Customer code. Yeah, this one is not so bad. Like this. If partner ID credit, name customer credit, and that's the field that we want to display. All right, and now if I then come back to it here and download my document, I maybe need to refresh my page or to enable the fact that I can print it. Yes. Yes, show in print menu. Great. Yes, and you see here now that the customer credit has been added to the layout. So that's something that you can do that way. Okay. So yeah, just think about it. Let's say either one of the two cases, but let's say the first case a bit, of course, better because it's fully standard in that case. Great. That's it for that question, I think. Once again, I mean, if when I answer a question, you have some comment to make, and you want to maybe add more details about your questions, feel free to do it in the chatter. There is no problem with that. Okay, now next question about from Shiva. In Odoo, serial number tracking is not directly linked to invoices. Since a single sales order can result in multiple invoices, it's important to know if there is a standard way to trace which invoice. It's not the end of the question, but it was the case in the chatter as well.
Which invoice?
Yes, I mean, but probably I get here the point of your question, so it should be okay. But yes, let's see a bit. Yes, what it is. It's important to know if there is a standard way to trace which invoice, maybe a specific serial number is linked to, something like that. First, I'm just going to check in my database, but I think it's a case that my serial number are activated. Yes, you see as well that once I just let's say look at the serial number for things, I also see here that I can display on my invoice which are the lot and serial numbers that are part of it. So let's imagine that I simply save that in that case. What I'm going to do is to create a new product tract with serial number. Like this, and I'm just going to update the quantity by giving it a few serial number like this. All right, and then maybe also what I'm going to do so that I just take your use case exactly. I'm going to say that I can only invoice what is delivered. Your question, yes, you start from one single sales order, so it's okay. So here, let's select Ditko Addict again, add my product tract with serial number, and sell 3 units to it. Like this, I confirm, but now on my delivery, what I'm gonna do is to only saying that I can first deliver my first serial number, like this. I can validate and create a back order for what remains. Once I did it, I can now create an invoice, but only for the first serial number that I delivered, which is this one. And here, probably if I print my invoice, I'm going to see what is the serial number linked to it. Yes, there. So it's interesting because then, I mean, I get the information on the PDF, that's right. I don't really get the information here on the, in the backend, for example, because in your case, you want to see maybe what invoices are linked to one specific serial number. If I get it properly, if I just by curiosity take a look at my serial number, there and the ones here that I took into account, I can indeed get back to the sales order link to that sale number here, and from the sales order, of course, to the invoice as well, where it is part of, because I mean that's a really good interface here, not the fact of having access to a lot of different places. Maybe to know if from that place I can have a look directly to the invoice, it's a bit something that I cannot determine directly, because I need to know if there is a place somewhere on the account move model where the lot and sale number is stored, and something that I can reuse maybe for that. Let's check that. If I go back to my here invoice for that product, let's start first by taking a look at the fields and see if there is something related to the lot. Actually, I don't know what is the name of the model. I don't know it by heart, so I'm just going to check again. It's stock lot. That's good. So rated model. No, so there is not. So probably if we take a look at the report here, yes, about the lot and sale number. Just going to see what is the invoice. Yes, number 6, this one. And yes, so there is this part there, and if I take a look, so just to see if there is somewhere something that is going to take it into account. So here we have lot values, yes. Okay, so that's you that is going to call that part, and they are mentioning in that case SNLN line. So something that could be existing on the model. No, it's a bit too large. SN. No. Yes, okay. There's a method actually that is called get invoiced lot values there. And probably if we go into the code of Odoo, we'll see the definition of that method. So I go first on the enterprise repository. Let's see if that's there, that it is located. Yes, actually we have a definition there at least that we can look, and yes, display rental lots on invoice report. And then here's it mentions rental lot, but I think it's the same for usual lot number as well. So yeah, it's a method that is called then, to access information. So I mean, this method then means that the information is not stored; it's computed every time. Then you get to display and to generate the report, the PDF report. So yes, so just to summarize there about your question, even if I did not get the last part of it, I think what's important here is to always make a step back and take a look at the information that you are looking for, which is here the sale number. And basically from here you already get an interface about, where in which sales order it was part, and from the sales order you get back to the invoice there. What's complicated is that indeed from there you cannot already display all the invoices because information is not stored on the invoice; it's computed. So that's a bit the issue. What it means is that if you want here to get a button that links to all the invoices where the sale number is stored, you need as well to compute it. So to have some method somewhere that's going to take a look at all the invoices, a bit similarly to what is done here, even if of course it's a bit different. But the idea being, of course, to retrieve all of them at the same place. But here, probably, it's not something that is so relevant. So yeah, just for you to check and see if it is if it's okay. All right. Next question. Apply different access rules to generated API keys.
Would that be related to the first question you answered before people were
I'm not sure. I think because from what I know, the thing is that when you play with the external API of Odoo here, so what happens is that you are going to, for the API to work, it needs to have some kind of account user regarding to the actions it can perform in the database. And what you probably mean here is, okay, but maybe I want some different API levels, for example, so that some APIs can do some things and some other APIs can do something else. It's just that I don't exactly remember, and maybe probably I don't have the possibility to do it from here, where the API key needs to be generated, because I believe it was somewhere on the user that it can be. Maybe it's explained actually in the documentation. Preferences. Yes. For example, here, I start from Mitchell admin, and so I create the API key from Mitchell admin. So probably the API key corresponds to the access rights of Mitchell admin. And so, of course, if you create the API key beyond different user, at the moment it will inherit, the access rights of that user. So probably that's something that you could be playing with, to get some different access rights. But in your case, you mentioned access rules. So I'm not exactly sure if it is the same kind of topic that you want to discuss, but that could be maybe indeed something to investigate, and take into account. But yes, I know, that here, the API key that we get from Mitchell admin means that all the actions that the API is going to do will be impersonated by Mitchell admin, afterwards in the database. So yes, that's something that you can do. Good. But take a look at the documentation if you did not already, and that's somewhere maybe when you can get a few more information about that. Okay. Next question from Udara about the website module. So www.dns works fine with Odoo, but the root domain without W still points elsewhere. What record should I use for the root, or can I redirect it to www from Odoo? That's maybe a question a bit too tricky for me, maybe to give some let's say experienced answer, because something I'm so used to. What I know is that first, it's true that if you mention the fact that you are still using the URL of Odoo, so the one let's say mydatabase.odoo.com. And so then 3w.mydatabase.odoo.com. Indeed, you cannot, let's say, make much things, because this is a domain that is, let's say, already managed by Odoo and that you cannot really play with. But if you, let's say, decided to take your own domain name, with Odoo. So here, I'm just going to write down domain name Odoo here. Because here, of course, you can benefit from one free domain when you get a database, or you can also record it with your own existing domain name. And at that moment, it's true that you need to redirect a few things, to make sure it's going to work. Making sure that if, let's say, either the case where you just write down your 3w.yourdomain.com is going to redirect to the URL of Odoo, and same, for the case where you just simply type something without the 3w. So that's where, you need to pay attention to those things, like this. For example, here, target address should be address's name as defined in this creation, so like this. And so the CNAME record, in that case, is something that you can play with, in order to make it easier. And in the documentation again, here you get, some related content based on some different providers that we know are pretty well known in the market. So take a look if yours is part of the list, and also to the related documentation. Try to apply it and then see if it's going to improve a bit, the redirection that you get. All right. Next question from Everything Everyday. I've encountered challenges with inventory valuation. Specifically, in some sales orders, invoices, and product categories appear to be improperly configured. As a result, the system is only recording entries in the revenue and accounts receivable journals without affecting the cost of goods sold or stock delivered accounts. Okay. Due to improper configuration of product category invoicing policy, I'm using Anglo-Saxon accounting. Greatly appreciate guidance on methods for updating product cost and recording accurate inventory values. Steps to correct existing sales order and ensure proper journal entries. Well, in that case, I will just give first a general answer, because that's probably something that you could be looking for. But it's the fact that when you are playing, let's say using Odoo, and also expecting to do the accounting in Odoo. If at some point you recognize that you get some wrong setup and that actually the accounting is not correct, you need to indeed do two kind of actions. First, make sure that it's going to be correct starting from now regarding to the newly created entries, but also that all the existing entries are going to be also corrected to reach the proper point. Then there is a lot of possibilities, of course, to do it. So it's not something that is so easy. So in your case, you are indeed Anglo-Saxon accounting, which is a bit specific, not also my proper expertise. But let's imagine, of course, it's not the case in my database, but that my journal items, are not properly set up, that there is a mistake with the account, especially in that case, because I probably think it's your case, because you mentioned especially, the revenue and the receivable, well, I mean, probably the account, not the amount. So probably at the product categories level, you still got the right here, the right costing method. I hope so. At least that this part was correct. If it's only here about the account, what I suggest you to do is to make some correction of the existing entries. And for that, you could, for example, just to show an example, let's say something is not correct in my list. I take a look at one specific setup, and I can, from my database, decide to move to a specific account some entries that were mistakenly created, in the past, or wrongly created. So it's a way, for you to move some accounting entries from one account to another and make some corrections. Something that you need to do because it was wrongly setting up at the start. So that's something that you can think of, to correct the past. Check if it is feasible or not, because it depends on how many cases and how many different situations you have in front of you to make sure it's possible. And based on that, of course, you will see and indeed decide what is the best thing to do. You mentioned as well that you have some product cost difference. I see that now at the end of the question. So it's not only then a question of account; it's also a question of the debit and credit amount. Yes, linked to it. It's yes. I mean, the correction that you can do as well here, could be to go in your inventory valuation. Inventory. Actually, I know it's only valuation now. There, yes. Because I know that when I track it by product, I should get. No, actually not in that case. But maybe it's because I'm not with the right setup. But I remember that it was possible. Yes, I need to find it back exactly where it was. But yes, I mean here it would be needed to be updated as well regarding the values that you got. It's a bit tricky. Let's say if I want to be honest with you, I think you need to have a proper analysis about that. You could decide to create a request, to our team. If you have a partner success pack, for example, that's something that we can help you with, because you need to take a look at the database and see how it goes. Let's say that there is some manual actions indeed that can be taken to correct the existing setup and make sure that all the rest of the setup, especially by taking a look at the product categories, will be good, for the next of what's going on. But if dependently, on how far, or let's say how bad the setup was first regarding to what you expected, it may be needed to make some different actions and probably, maybe go through a script or through something else that can adapt the values from the past, but mostly from a more technical point of view, without having the constraint, of the accounting of Odoo at first. So yeah, it's not so easy topic, but it's important you need to identify it and make sure that you can adjust it quite quickly. So yeah, I think I'm not going to go further on that topic. As I said, a bit too long maybe and a bit too specific. So yeah, just think about it and see what is possible. All right, great. Next question. Hello, I have created a custom module that includes custom fields like product name and product quantity. This module is linked to inventory, but when I update the quantity in my custom module, the actual stock in Odoo inventory does not reduce. How can I fix this so the quantity gets reduced properly in inventory? Okay. Well, the thing is that, if I decide, because a custom module could be something indeed like I would do, with Studio, for example, and creating a new model in which indeed I could add some lines, enable me to put some product and quantity. If you simply, put the quantity information, is not enough. It's true. Why? It's because, for example, if you take a look at the sales order, when you create a sales order and you decide to add, some product and quantity here, it's not going to reduce the quantity available at your product level. Okay, it's not enough. It's not, the only impact that you should give, to adapt the quantity of your product. So this part is not enough. I mean, what you impact is true. Is a forecasted quantity, because you will see, for example, there that some quotations are created and could impact the stock level at some point, but that's something that is computed, it's part of this report. It's very specific. But what is at the end going to adapt your stock in your warehouse is the fact that you have a delivery order and an output, let's say a stock move, that is going to make some stock going out of your stock. Some product going out and quantities getting out of your stock. That's what is important. If you don't have that part in your custom module, it's not going to work. So what I would suggest you to do is to make sure that, dependently on what you are going to do in your module, that you have at the end some stock move that is created, okay, and that's going to have an impact on the quantity of your product. Stock move that you see, for example, there. If I take a look at my moves history, I will see all the moves that are actually going to have an impact on my quantities in my stock. So either inventory adjustment or some deliveries to customers or some purchase of goods from suppliers. All of these things will have an impact on the stock, and that's what is at the end going to be the expected result that you want. So yeah, so it's not enough then indeed to simply record the quantity if you want them to be taken into account. Arthur, just to tell you, the screen below is a bit turning off, turning on from time to time. I don't know why. Yes, once again.
Does it ever help?
Yes, but wait, I'm going to leave it like this. I mean, actually for now it's okay, but if I misread the question, it's maybe because of that. But no, don't worry. Okay, we commonly use M-Pesa as a payment method channel in Kenya. Can you directly partner with Saraficom for them to directly reflect on the ERP other than manual Excel filing? Okay, that's a good question. That is mostly linked to R&D, and what kind of connection integration we can make with some local actors. When I say local, it's because here in that case it's, as you mentioned, a bit more specific to Kenya, or Kenya at least. Here, what you could, let's say, you should not, hope too much that this feature could, be released, especially in the short term, even if we make the feedback and we see how it goes. It really depends on many different factors. First, the roadmap and the direction that we want to take, in the R&D for this specific localization in Kenya, and what impact it can have on the market and on the amount of customer as well. So, it's very complicated to assess and to estimate if they can take it into account quickly and make this change. So for now, indeed, we need to think first about, some manual way of doing it on the short term. Then there is two different things. What you can do, indeed, is to give some feedback, to do a bit as you are doing it for now, but a bit more complete, explaining, for example, that you have some documentation about Safaricom in that case. Some API that they can provide, and some connections or some similar, maybe actors or ERP that is already integrated with them. So give more example, give more context, about how it could happen, and if it happens already, in the database somewhere. So that's something indeed that you can investigate. But except indeed giving the feedback to the R&D, we cannot do much more things in that case. Of course, you could think as a partner to develop it yourself. Some partners do it on their own sector, on their own industry, country, for it to be available. That's the reason why, especially if we go to the Odoo App Store somewhere. And if I look, I don't know, for payment things, I will get, some payment provider integration that is going to be available. And why did people do it at some point? It's because indeed it was not done in the standard of Odoo for some reason that we can understand or not. It depends, of course, on the position, but at least indeed that's something that is maybe needed at some point, and that can make you, of course, becoming kind of let's say with a unique added value, maybe also on the market you are targeting. But yes, think about the feedback. I mean, in 2 months now, there will be the Odoo experience at Odoo. For the one who have the chance to come, it's going also to be the chance for you to meet the R&D, to meet the product owner in that case of accounting localization, and not hesitate at that moment to tell them about that and to see and to understand maybe why some of these things is not something that is already available. All right. Okay, next question. So while making a custom module, when I use tree or Kanban in my XML file, I'll always get error, value error, external ID not found in the system. I set up type, then it says not needed in version 18 or something, but yes, it would be really helpful if you could show small implementation of tree in a custom module. Okay, but actually, do we need really to go to a custom module? Because basically what we could probably do is to go as well to a simply, a standard module and see how they do it, to integrate some Kanban or view like this. I'm just thinking at the same time. That's why I don't know if I'm for now on the sales stock renting. And yes, there are some views here for the product template. And maybe in that case, what is it? It's funny because I don't recognize it. Probably it's a form view in that case. But I think maybe let's get something that is very basic. Let's go to the standard code of Odoo. Okay, account. No. Well, this one is supposed to be pretty large. Okay. And so indeed here, so every time we create indeed a new view, it's going to indeed add here the ID of the view, and that's probably something that you are planning to do. And so in your case, a view model tree, I set up type, then it says not needed in version 18 or something, but yes. Okay, it's a bit complicated again to see that. What I would suggest is for you indeed to be as close as possible, from what is already existing in standard module, because that's basically the same stuff that you are expecting. Making sure, of course, that your ID is unique. That's something that's going to be already part of it in the database. But in that case, yes, for example, here we have the name that's going to be given like this for the Kanban view in that case. And the idea is already there. Let's take a look. Maybe at the same time, no, not there, but if I go to an invoice. So I was there in a Kanban view. Yes, and here it was account move line, Kanban, but there I was in account move Kanban. So the name of the view is there. It's showing the external ID is here. View account move Kanban. Yes, and that's indeed, so the external ID is indeed the first part of it. Well, of course, so here I think you are in the right direction. I would still suggest you need to put the ID, the external ID, because it's probably better, to provide it every time you need to do it. Maybe what happens, because there, it tells you that the external ID is not found in the system, because you need to be careful that there is a model in Odoo about the external IDs here. And the fact that, that when you create an external ID, it still needs to be part of this list, regarding to the record that you created. for example, there, the view account move Kanban that I was on, is also created there in the list. So probably what you should do first in your case is to create this external identifier first in your database and then be able to use it when you create your view in the Kanban view. That's maybe where you are missing the step. If I'm just taking a look there at the data, just to see if I will be able to find it, but ER model data. Let's take a look. If I just type that, yeah, simply in the view here. That's probably that part. That should be a bit what we should check. But maybe I need to go then in my model. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to take a look, one last look to see if I find something. If I don't, I'm not going to waste your time on that. But I know that here we get, let's say, some more, let's say, functional modules. Well, here it is mostly about the testing. So maybe not there, or yes, you have the base. Yeah, but this is just some Python files or whatever. So it's something that's going to be important for us. No, it's about the demo data. I don't really know, but we should find exactly indeed where these external identifiers are created at first, and that's probably indeed that part that you should, in your case, reproduce, to make sure it's going to work. It's funny because this, yes, this doesn't have an external ID neither, so yeah, to be checked. But that's probably something that is missing in your case. So just try to think about creating this external ID that you are going to provide to your view. In your case, if you don't set it up, yes, but did you try actually not to give any ID to your view when you create it first? Because I think in your question you don't mention it, so maybe you tried, but actually, is it possible not to give it? Maybe not. Probably not. So yes, I think it's better at least whatever if you give it, because it's a way, of course, for you to update it as well. So yes, sorry for that. I cannot really show you an example. I cannot open a custom code here, and I don't have a sample custom module on my hand. But yes, that's something that I would check, regarding the fact that the external ID need to exist if you want to use it. Okay, next question from Leonid. So hi everyone, question about Odoo dashboards. How can we select specific period of watching not from proposed? I want to select, for example, okay, I get the point. Actually, it's pretty simple. So if I, for example, I don't know in which version you are, but let's imagine that you are in Odoo 18, or a version that is newest from this one. If I decide here to insert something in a spreadsheet or in a dashboard, whatever, here, what I can do afterwards is to create a filter, so a date filter, and here in the time range that you select, you just select from to, and the from to, so date from to, is going to enable you to select from one date to another, like this. So from, in your case, the 1st of July to the 17th of July. So that's how you do it. That's as simple as this. So yeah, so you have indeed the 3 different cases, either like month, quarter, so that you can choose January, February, or quarter 1, quarter 2 of a specific year. Related period, as you said, for the last 30, 60, 90 days, and from to, for that case that you mentioned. All right, next question. Is there a way when we search a product from a sales quotation, show the result in a specific order like quantity on end? Okay, first you need to know that I think what the criteria that is used, in order for the product to be displayed in a specific order, is the fact, knowing if they are, let's say, mentioned as important, as starred or not. for now, if I refresh my page, the booking fees will be in first position. And the fact that they are in first position is going to have an impact on which one is going to show in the first position here. So what we know is that the starring behavior, of the product will have an impact on the sequence of it here. That's something that we can probably see in the view itself. Let's take a look. Yes, but here, maybe not this one. Let's take a look at the list view. Not really. Not really there.
17, I think, talking about module dashboard.
Yeah.
Or maybe a good question.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. But actually, dashboard was where I was. So it's the same part, So my answer is still the same. In 17, it may be different. Let's take a look if in 17 the option was already there or not. So I will simply open a dashboard. Here, open it, any dashboard that we have. And there, if I create a new date filter, yes, from 2 is still there. So Leonid, I think the answer is here. So you can indeed simply select the time the time range from 2 in the dashboard, and that's something that you can use, for filtering from one date to another.
A funny question.
We all know Python is slow. Can you know why Odoo choose Python as backend? Let's type the question on the internet. Why Odoo codes in Python? Okay, well, that's one of the answers that we have. I think it was a decision that was taken, maybe to something maybe that is maybe, let's say, I was going to say a bit more modern, but I'm not sure. Let's say Python is so new as a language, whatever. But yes, it was probably a decision that was taken at the start, to use it. Here it mentioned, the fact that we have more degree of customization, but I'm not really sure it's something that you can only have in Python. So it's a bit complex, as an answer. Probably, if you take a look at some interviews of Fabia Pincars online, you could find a way, for which Odoo decided at some point to use Python as a language and not something else. But it's not an answer that I know already here. But I'm almost sure that I got this a reason for that in the past. I think I was Arthur. Can you come back a bit upper? Yes, it was because of the quantity on it. Because I did not answer the question that was just above. So yes, just to come back to this, so indeed the product, as I quickly said, then are let's say organized based on first on the start things and not on the quantity on hand. So if that's something that we want to change, we need to change it. That's true, here on the, for example, on the model probably, about how it's organized, because whatever I am on the Kanban or list view, the organization is the same. So it's something that is probably linked only to a view. I'm not sure it's linked to an action here. No, I'm not sure it is. I'm not exactly sure I can find this information, because so here, if I take a look, so I'm in my product template. Let's come back. All right. Products, so we'll take a look. Okay, so in the models, and in that case, product template. Good. So there should be somewhere. Yes. the sequence that is defined. Yes, and okay, default one helps give the sequence order when displaying a product list. And here it doesn't seem to be computed at first. It's just by default equal to 1. So that, I mean, all the products will get indeed by default the same sequence. That's something that we see as well, because like the product list is something that we can reorganize. Like we don't have the option, you know, to move one product to another, except indeed from the starring perspective. In that case, I don't even know what is the name of that field. Starred. Is it simply no priority? No. I think I could see it if I open Studio. Yeah, his favorite. Do I have his favorite? Ah, yeah, okay, that's where I see it. Good, okay. So you see first, then the order. Yes, that's where you get the information. So depending on the order of your product. So it's first based on his favorite in a descending way, and then the name, and that's the only criteria that you have. So if you want to change it, you need to rewrite, you know, here the definition of the product template organization, and put here another criteria that could be the quantity on hand of your product. But it's not something that we can do, I think, from the interface, you know, because we cannot really play with that kind of thing. Yes, because whatever here, it's not going to take into account the sequence. So yeah. I mean, the only thing, but it really doesn't make sense, you know, but it could be that you put some automated action or some computed fields, maybe more automated action, saying that if you have some on-hand quantity, 16, you put a 16 just before the name of your product, and so the 16 becomes part of the name, and so it's going to be organized based on it. But of course, then the name of your product will be impacted, so you need to change maybe as well the report and so on, so it's becoming a bit of a nightmare. So yes, I would not suggest you then to do it from automation rule from the interface, but mostly maybe based on the module, because that's something that is decided at the code level. Okay. So next question from Martin. I'm new to Odoo. How can I return one order from Waves transfer which the state is done? Okay. So let's take a look. First, I think I need to activate wave transfer. That's probably not, yes, done already. All right, I will go to my here things, and I will add to wave. No, but I need to create a new one, of course. And here I put myself. Good. Add operation. Add to wave. Okay, so they are part of a wave now. And if I open then my wave transfer. Yes, there. Here it is. I validate it. And they are marked as done. I think in that case, if you want to return something from one of those, let's say, it's a sub-transfer that is part of your wave transfer, you need to come back to the corresponding wave, no, not wave, but corresponding, let's say, delivery. So if I open it, and I open one of them, here I have the possibility to return only this, then, part of the wave transfer, and saying here in that case that I'm going to return 20 goods out of my 40 desk combination product. And so I return, and so then I get my return order for that good. So that's, I think, what you can play with, you know, to make a return. So it's not something that is then directly related to the back to the wave transfer. If your question then is, but I want to return my full wave transfer, probably it doesn't change anything. You need to think if there is something that is going to allow you to do it, but no. So you need to go back to each of your deliveries and decide to change it. Okay, I see a question in the chatter. Will AI replace Odoo? I think it's a bit too early to be able to answer this question, but maybe AI will enhance Odoo and will enable Odoo to be more efficient in some ways. Even, I mean, especially on the user point of view, we could think about a lot of ways that AI can help you understand better how Odoo works, supports you better in the way you use it, and the way you implement it. But it's probably a false question. I don't know, but that's still something that could be I mean, discussed. But I probably think in the short term it's going to be more useful for us than something else. All right, great. How to integrate Odoo customized app with Telegram? Get requests from clients, response to them with the order status, get files from clients. Can same invoice have different products with different currencies? Okay, so 2 questions in one. First question, I mean, integrate Odoo with something as Telegram is a bit similar in a way to what we have with WhatsApp, you know, so the integration that is natively now part of Odoo. So if I go in the apps and type WhatsApp, I have this application, so WhatsApp that is part of it, and which means that if I look, I don't know if it's part of, no, it's not part of the, of course, of the community repository. Marketing automation, test WhatsApp, yes, WhatsApp. What you see first, and that's important to notice, you know, is that WhatsApp is really not a small module. So it's really something that is important, like, because first you see that there is different modules to have, let's say, all the integration with all the apps where it could be, where it could happen. But also, like, you have some long list of models, and each of these models, you know, have a pretty large number of lines of code. You know, so that's not something that you do easily. The how, you know, that you ask in that case could be answered by taking a look at this code and see exactly how it was done, even knowing that, you know, of course, the WhatsApp integration tools are probably not the same as the Telegram ones. So it's really not something that is easy or fast to be done. I do not hear about anything at Odoo planning to do it natively. Okay, so it's then something maybe that you need to develop yourself. But that's indeed then part of the big development that you could think. Let's see if there is something that is already done. You know, it could still be a possibility. Telegram integration. Yes, there was something done in the past. I don't even see the version linked to it. A bit surprising that there is only this number of lines of code, but probably also we need to see if it was doing all the things that we wanted to do at that point. Yes, here a bit more already. Actually, this one is part, you know, of it's available, let's say, for Odoo 18. I cannot tell you anything, you know, about the quality of the app. It's not something that we can assess, let's say, from now. But that's something that you could, I mean, ask for a demo or ask for a bit of more explanation regarding to this module. It's not so expensive, but it still contains a lot of lines of code. So you need to be careful, you know, review it, take time to make sure that it is exactly what you would like it to be, and see indeed if it answers all of your questions. But you see, then that's not something that we can answer, of course, in a live like this one, but just keep in mind that an integration such as this one is very big and requires a lot of investment in order to be performed. And about your second question, can same invoice have different products with different currencies? I'm not sure it is, because if we go to an invoice, and first maybe I'm going to activate multiple currencies in my database. It's the case already, good. Okay, so if I go to an invoice and I create a new one, here what we see is that the currency is defined at the journal level for the whole invoice. So it means that here I don't have the possibility to select per line the currency that I want to take into account. So the answer is no. You need indeed to create 2 different invoices in order for it to be available, simply because of that. Here, let me check, but yes, there is no possibility to change it. If I want to make sure, what I could do is to look at the account move line. So models. Account move line, and there, if I look at the currency ID. No, so here I don't see it from there, but at least if I go to the account module there. Okay, so account models, and I open the one linked to the account move line there, and I look at currency ID. So we have the company currency ID, and we have a lot of them here, and currency ID. And we see here that we have a compute method, so the field is not something that we can define by yourself. And here, okay, so we have different things. So if line display is COGS, cost of goods sold, it's the company currency ID. If it is not, it's going to take the currency out of the move ID. And if it is not an invoice, it's going to take the line currency ID or the line company ID currency ID. So yeah, then I think we get the answer of the question, the fact that as it is computed, we cannot really change it, so it's not expected that you can edit yourself, you know, on an invoice based on the line that you are in, the currency that you want to get. So pretty long answer to give you a very short answer at the end, but just yes, it's not possible. So you need to create technically 2 different invoices for you to have the proper result. Good. Okay. Next question. In the POS module, does Odoo Studio allow to set up membership automation with leveling method? Okay. I'm not sure if this is only one question. Hello, we are trying to configure our Odoo Online instance that amounts in H. Okay, so it's still the same. In HUF, so Hungarian forints are displayed without decimal places on quotation and other documents and in point of sale. However, the system won't allow us to change the rounding precision, displaying the following error: you cannot reduce the number of decimal places for a currency that's already been used in accounting entries. We are using Odoo Online and looking for a solution to this problem. Okay, so 2 questions. First about so set up membership automation with leveling method. It's just a leveling method. Probably what you mean is that, of course, then you can have some different levels of membership. Okay. I don't know then if you just plan to use the member. There's no app. Yes, members. The members app for that. In that case, for example, so yes, it is there, because if it is the case, so indeed then you have the module that is linked to it. I don't know the members module so well, but yes, actually it's just at the end a contact. So it's a bit, yes. It's just probably when I create a member, I now have, yes, a membership option. Free member, by membership, okay. No, actually there is no level here. So maybe it's not something that you use. I don't know. I mean, if that's this module or something else that you use, it's not really important. What you have is that, you know, at the end of your point of sale use. So let me install point of sale so that we see it. So once you use the point of sale at the end, let's say you can create contact on the fly, you can create products, you can create orders, and so on. With Odoo Studio, you are not able to modify the interface of the point of sale, okay? Because the interface of the point of sale is made with JavaScript and not, which is not something that you can edit with Studio, okay? So then you cannot have an impact on that part here. You cannot add a new option. You cannot add some automation in that place, or enabling you, you know, to select a leveling method when you create a new contact, for example. So it's something that you can do. But what you can do in the same ID is that every time, let's say you then do some point of sale action, you are going to create at the same time some orders there that can be linked to customers if you identify them. And there you could put some, let's say, automation saying, okay, if a new customer is created in my database and I identify in some way that this customer is part of a point of sale order, then I can going to give him some specific membership level, you know, based on this. Like you cannot change the interface, but you can make so that some action that you do from the point of sale can trigger some automation rule in the interface. No, well, in the backend, let's say, of Odoo. Here, let me check, because for now the orders that we have are not linked to a customer, but what I'm going to do is to still link it to DecoAddict in that case. And let's see if from now on DecoAddict, yes, I have a post order here. So it's a specific model then, which is called post order, exactly. And so probably on DecoAddict, I have a field, yes, showing me all the post order IDs. So for example, one of your automation that you could put, you know, could be, okay, if I create a new contact in my database, and this new contact has a post order, I'm going to give him a specific membership level, you know. Then you could decide, okay, if in my post order I have a total amount higher than one specific amount, then I give him a high level. If it is lower than one specific amount, it's going to be a low level. So, you know, that's what you can do with Studio, in that case, to automate it. Just to show you quickly how it would look like. Without, let's say, setting it up completely, but if I go to automation and create a new one, so adapt the contact membership level. So I'm going to do it then on save when I update the ID of my contacts. ID, yes, just that there's a lot of them, so I need to take the right one, which is there. And you want it to only be applied if there is some post order set, and also post order total. I don't know if it's something that we can access. Yes, let's say higher than 1000. In that case, then you could put an action to update your contact and put a tag, for example, which could be consulting services. Okay, it's not relevant, but you see what I mean. So then, depending on all of your automation rule, it could have a different impact and decide to identify your customers in a different way. That's something that you can do on Odoo Online by using Odoo Studio. Okay, I hope it's clear, you know, regarding what you can or cannot do. But yes, at least that's one option. About your second question, you mentioned the amount, indeed, in currency, and the fact that you want to remove the decimal places. First of all, it's true. Like, I mean, it's too late. In your case, what is your issue? Is that the accounting app that you are probably using or invoicing, but at least any of those apps are going to generate all of the journal items with some decimals. In your case, I don't know if your point is, oh, I don't want to have decimals at all, or I don't want to have decimals displayed on the PDF, you know, which is something that is different. Because at the end, probably in a database, you have some decimals in the accounting that are going to be used. Let's imagine that you have a sales order with this amount, and that you are removing the decimals. Then you will get a payment that will be probably different from the amount that you have in your accounting, so you will get indeed some issues. That's why you cannot really make it afterwards. Or same, like if you decide from today to remove the decimals, what will happen for all the existing entries that may have some decimals? You could tell me, no, but we make so that we don't have any decimals in our record. But I mean, there is always a specific case where it could be that some decimals will be added, you know, and something that you may maybe not decide by yourself. You know, for example, if you have a discount, if you have some, I don't know, even some users that are not really careful and that put some decimals by mistake, you know, it's really important to pay attention to that. So my advice then would be not to do it. I would suggest you to keep, you know, the number of decimals that you have in your database and to get used to it. I know it's not easy to hear that, and I know maybe your customer will not be happy with that if it's for a customer to ask the question. But unfortunately, I think it's better to use Odoo like this, because you avoid having some corner cases that can be very painful for you at some point. Now, if we come back now to the question itself, if you want to know how you could do it in a way, first, I mean, your accounting is let's say it's probably too late to change it. If you want to change it, you need to start again. Maybe create a new database and do the switch in between the two setups. It depends how long you have been using Odoo. It's really tricky to do it. I'm not sure we can do it with some script, and Python code, to force it. Probably it's a bit too late. Still, that's a question that you could ask to the support of Odoo. Like you could go there and explain that you want, for some reason, let's say, to come back to a decimal accuracy of 0 and not 2, and see what they can suggest, regarding that. But it's complicated, as I said, because some accounting entries are probably already created. But if you are okay to keep then the decimal accuracy here, but to simply change the display that you provide to the customer, it's once again a bit tricky. If I open, let's say, a customer invoice here. Yes, report. There. So first, there is a lot of places where I have some amount. I don't know the way of doing it by heart, but I'm pretty sure that you can, in a way, with some XML code here, focus some monetary amount in your code and remove decimals, from the display. But you need to know then that you need to do it at every places, in every context that you may face, on the quotation, sales order, invoice, whatever report that you have. You need to pay attention to remove the decimals by yourself and to do it, manually for the display. It's something that is possible partially with Studio, probably. You need to know that, for example, editing the the tickets, the receipt of the point of sale is not possible with Studio. So you need to do it at that moment, playing with a module, and so being on Odoo SH. So you cannot do it on Odoo Online. So that's also justifies why I gave you my first answer. It's because I think it's really a nightmare, for you to do it in practice and to make sure that it's going to be maintained and work on the long term, because there are so many corner cases that you can face that it can be very complicated. So I would not advise you to do it. I would advise you to get used to the decimals in the database as long as you can, and at least you know that if you want to do it, you have two options: either being able to force your comeback to 0 decimal accuracy, and for that you can ask the support if they can help you with that, because they probably already got the question in the past, or you can indeed keep the decimal accuracy as it is in the accounting, but then you need to change all of the displays of your report and customer preview, which is completely very long work, I assume, and that you can probably not do fully on Odoo Online. And also, you could also make a switch from database to another, as I said. But it really depends on for how long your customers or yourself you use this database. It's really important to discuss that. Okay. Good. Next question from Shiva. Is there a way to automatically send a PDF or Excel report of purchase order that are still pending or not received? So I guess in that case you mentioned to send them to the vendor that are, let's say, going to yes, send you that. You could do it. No, it's okay. So you could do it. So there, indeed, if you want to send, the PDF to the let's say to the vendor, you need to do it manually. So here, click on send by email, like this, and click on send. Okay, that's a manual action. If you want to automatically send it, let's say on a regular basis, or if indeed, for example, the something that is called not the billing status, but I think there is probably somewhere the receipt status, exactly. So based on the receipt status, to do those actions, on an automated basis, you could. To do that, I'm not sure I know the formula by heart, but still I'm going to introduce you about how does it work. Here, if I put my mouse over this button, I have the action RFQ send here that is displayed. But what you need to know is that when I click on that, it's going to open this, let's say, this pop-up, in which it's going to show me and to explain to me, yes, you can change the subject, you can change the body, you can change the recipient, all of this. And so it's not enough simply then to click, no, not to click, but yes, to only trigger the action that is called action RFQ send, because Odoo expects some other entries afterwards. But there is a possibility in Odoo to directly send an email template to a specific recipient without having to make a preview and an overview of what is being sent. As I said, I don't know the action by heart, but still, the starting point of your question here is to create a scheduled action, on the model purchase order, like this, send automatically. The PDF of the PO. All right, let's say every day. And here you need to put some Python code. So you could say for PO in records, if PO dot, and then here you need to take a look at the receipt status as we mentioned. Here, which is called receipt status. In that case, pending or partial. So pending or like this, partial. Then you can indeed decide to trigger specification. One other thing that you could check is if PO partner ID dot email. Make sure that at least the recipient, the main recipient, yes, of the record here, the vendor, which is the partner ID, has an email address. Because of course, if it does not, you cannot send the email. And then you do a specific action. Here, as I said, I don't know the formula by heart, so I'm just going to do something else just to check if it's going to work. Let's say by default, yes. Let's say source document, so origin. I could say PO origin is equal to success. All right, so here I have then a purchase order as this one, which is with a receipt status of pending. Now if I run it here, I get an error. Let's see why. Object is not iterable. It's probably because of this. No, I think it's just because record seems to be empty. In that case, I'm just going to check something, but I'm not sure it could solve it. No. Name PO is not defined. Yes, of course. Okay, I'm just going to switch it. But if it doesn't work, I mean, we need to. It's just a question here about how we write it down, so it's not really a big problem if I'm not able to do it. Yes, here is just, but it doesn't recognize it. Maybe one of you knows the answers, but here, I mean, it's just the record thing that he doesn't like, and maybe it's linked to the purchase order. I don't know why it's not triggered. Well, it triggers an error in that case. Anyway, it's still the point. So in that case, you know that you can access. I mean, if you are not used to coding, you can ask ChatGPT to help you with that, because at the end, it's something that you can do. You ask to create a scheduled action to send one specific email template that you want to send, email template that you can find here. And what's important in that case, if you took a look at the purchase order, it's especially the external ID that you have here. That will be important to recognize what you want to send to the vendor. And afterwards, here's just a question of syntax, and how you write down the expression. Here, I did not succeed to do it. I mean, I could spend time on that, but anyway, as I said, you need to review because I don't know the exact Python expression to send the email. It's a specific action, that you can find in the code. But yes, ChatGPT or any AI tool can help you with that, and that's something that you can think of. Okay, so I hope it helps, but at least, yeah, that's something that you can do. It works with the PDF because the PDF is part then of the email template that you are going to send. If I come back to the purchase order here, you can create your own ones, of course, but here in the settings, you can attach the report to it. The Excel file is a bit different because the Excel file is not generated, let's say, automatically. That means you need to create it yourself. And so generating the Excel file through a method is not so easy. So I would still keep, in that case, the PDF option because it's part of the report that you can natively add to your email template. Okay, I hope it helps. So yes, try it and see what it gives. All right, next question from Sandex. Hi, please, how can I add barcode to my invoice line column? Probably you mentioned the barcode of your products. So first thing is to what you could do first, it's not it's mandatory, but you could decide first to get the barcode in the backend. Maybe for some reason it could be useful for you. I will do it with Studio again, but you can do it with Module as well. But here I'm just going to edit my view and add a related field to my product in order to display my barcode. Like this, which means that now if I'm going to put a barcode to my product track with SN that we discussed earlier today, here it's going to be displayed also here on my invoice. Then I need to also adapt it on my PDF, and that's something that you need to do here through the code. So let's modify the same one that I modified earlier as well. Here, if I edit the sources, I can come back here. So to my invoice number 6, good. And if I go down, I just end up here with the description quantity. And what I'm going to do is to add a new column then. First, that yes, my barcode appears. And then I need to add it as well on my report. And so, yes, and to adapt each of the part of it. So it was X Studio barcode, same there, and option. Yes, this part is not important. Well, I could leave it, that's a problem, but if I save, yes. Now you see that the barcode is appearing on my PDF. So yes, so two things. Then first, you could adapt in this database level to make sure that you have the information in the backend as well. And second, you need to adapt also the PDF to add information in the view. All right. Okay, so next question from Dina. A question about the import of product with Excel. So if you want to import product with Excel, you need to know. So that's a topic where we could discuss a very long time, but we could also be pretty fast because when you go to somewhere in Odoo and decide to import records, you will see that Odoo always proposes you to import it to, let's say, make it based on a template. And if I download the file and take a look at what it is, I will see here that it will, let's say, show me an expected result about here the external ID, the name, product type, and so on. So all of the main fields that I have. That's not so more complicated than this. What you understand is that you need to have one column per information that you want to import. for the information to be importable in Odoo, you need to have a corresponding field in a database to import it. Okay, and in that case, they just give the name of the field and then the value of this field, to be imported. As Odoo is smart, it's going to recognize that this field exists in Odoo because of the name, and to make the proper matching with the what you have inside of it. You also see that you have there the external ID, which is a key, a unique key that you need to provide to your product to identify it, regarding to the rest of your catalog. So in that case, what we usually do at Odoo, is something like product NRS, which is my name, my Odoo name, and then I put the date of today, 17th of July 25, and then an increasing number like this one. By doing so, I'm sure that my ID will always be different, whatever I'm doing for that customer. And then if everything is ready and I want to import it, here I can then upload my file, open it like this. Yes, Odoo recognizes, as I said, all of my values, and I can test it. And if I test it and everything seems valid, I can import it afterwards. So that's the easy way of answering your question. You can first try this and see how it goes. What is a bit tricky at some point is that you can have some, let's say, some confusion from Odoo. If, for example, in your file, so if I open it again, if you have some ambiguity, like for example, instead of typing internal reference, you type ref, but maybe ref is the name of a different field as well on the record, and so Odoo is maybe not going to make the right matching for you. And maybe at some point it's going to not propose anything at all. So you need to have this work of reviewing exactly what Odoo is going to suggest as a matching, and adapt it accordingly when you are in the import interface. There are a lot of ways to make sure it does not happen. One of them is not to provide here the label of the field, but the technical name of this field. For example, here, so if I disconnect, reference here is my internal reference of my product, but if I put my mouse in debug mode, in developer mode next to it with the question mark, I will say the technical name of the field is actually default_code. So in my Excel file, I could simply put that information as my title of my column, and I will be sure that Odoo will recognize which product it is. So you see, it's a way then to go one step further, and the more you are technical actually in your import, the better it is, because then you can start having indeed some easier import in your database. All right, good. I have account journal and the user used to customize the serial number of invoice credit note. Another serial of invoice credit note. Okay, can I reset it back to default so the credit note serial number will be the same as invoice serial number with R before it? Let's try, because actually I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the answer. So yes, so you're right. When you first create indeed your first credit note without doing anything else, it's going to put an R and then the rest of the sequence of the invoice. But indeed, someone could decide to go here, once again in developer mode, do an action and resequence, and say actually it's not R invoice, it's ANRS, like this. I confirm it, and so it means that my next credit note that I'm going to create here for DQ Addict is going to take this value again. Let's try to see if I can reset it. What I'm going to do first is to take a look at my sequence technical menu. And here if I see ANRS in the list, I don't. It's not there, but actually I looked at it. Let's see, maybe in my list if it appears, but I'm not sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not the case, but we never know. We could be surprised from time to time, but no, in that case, it's not part of this menu. Because if it was, we could have, for example, deleted it and expect it to come back to the previous state. No. So let's come back to our credit notes. I mean, my basic answer could be yes, you just start again here and you come back to the Rinv case like this. That indeed now, if I create a new one, it's going to come back to the previous state of my customer. I mean, that's indeed an answer that you can give to it, and actually that's going to work. It's true that I'm just convinced that somewhere in my database I should have stored the fact that I was switching to my new sequence, and probably it's a place somewhere where I can play with that and reset it in a different way. But probably here this answer is enough for you. So activate first debug mode. To do that, you can type debug here and activate debug mode from the keyboard, with Control K like this. And then you go in the credit note list and you make an action and you resequence. If you want to resequence it only by journal, which makes sense. If you have different journals, you need to group it by journal first and then do it one by one to make sure that you give it the right sequence. What happens is that if now, let's say you decide on the customer invoice to change the prefix and to give something else, of course the credit note will not follow. The credit note will still be with the previous way of doing it. But that's something that is not surprising and that is expected by Odoo. Okay, so yes, you just need to have some let's say consistency in between the two things. But yes, I think the resequence tool is enough in that case for you to do it. All right. Next question. How can I make the prices in e-commerce showed with tax included? I think there is. Let's check first an option in the settings. Yes, here. So that's where you can decide, how the prices are going to be displayed in the e-commerce, and so the tax excluded or tax included. So it may depend on the version you are in, but in Odoo 18 at least you have this option that you can select to change how they are going to be displayed on the e-commerce. Okay, so for example there, if I put some tax included amount and I go to the e-commerce, yes, on page shop, I have then my customizable desk with this amount. Let's just take a look if I proceed to checkout. But here I have no tax, mainly because I'm not in the right setup, because I'm playing with a US company, and of course I'm not located in the US for now, so my taxes will be 0. But that's something that you can do. If it's probably enough to answer your question, but you could also think about then the display in the PDF that the customer might receive afterwards. So it's something to be tested, to make sure that it's consistent again from the start to the end. Just to tell you something about that, if we come back to this thing that we saw here, you see that next to the settings display product prices, you have a small planet, and indeed when I put my mouse over it, you see these values are set by website. So they are company website specific. Okay, so it means that here, if you decide to have two different cases, let's say one e-commerce for B2C with prices with tax included, and the B2B website with prices that are tax excluded, in that case you need to be careful to create two different websites. It's better, from my experience, to create two different websites that you can indeed properly set up each of the case and make sure that on one side they will see only then the tax included prices, and the other side only the tax excluded prices. All right. Next question. Does the AI module in Odoo in future will be designed to do customized code or debug issue in database? That's a good question. I'm not sure it's indeed the initial scope of the app, as it was presented at least partially, by Fabien, by our CEO on LinkedIn. I don't know if you saw a bit, and also during his last session here on the Insider that you could see. So I'm not sure indeed that's something that is completely planned for now, but of course, I mean, at some point that's clearly the case. I mean, first for the first point, you know, so we designed to do customized code. Not exactly, but what happens is that you will be able to use AI to create some automation rule, which for now may require some custom code. So in a way, it's going to replace, you know, some of the things that you used to do with customized code by simply playing with an AI prompt, you know, which is a different way than of coding in a way. Then about customizing your own module, I mean, this is not the AI module of Odoo, which will enable you to make some specific, you know, module creation, you know, for Odoo, at least not yet. For debug issue, why not actually? I think it's probably something that the R&D investigated already. It would not be surprising that, for example, the traceback and things that we get from the interface could be, let's say, analyzed by the AI at the same time, and that we can get, you know, a different understanding and explanation about what it got as an answer. So why not? Yes, that could be. Well, I mean, that could be one of the things that they fucked off when they fucked in the R&D, you know, to be added in the new solution. All right. Next question, how can I sync data between Microsoft project and Odoo project? You can do it by not using Microsoft project and only using Odoo project. No, it's a joke, but I mean, here what you do is that same. It's an integration, and it's not something that is natively part of Odoo. Okay, so you need to think about an integration in between the two tools, and you know that you can play with, especially let's say playing also with the API of Odoo for that. I don't know about Microsoft, but of course you should have the same thing. But yes, it's just for you then to make the right connection in between the two tools, knowing that you need to know in which direction the synchronization should be done. Like, is it in both directions? Is it only from Microsoft to Odoo or from Odoo to Microsoft? That's really what is important here to determine, you know, first, and also what is the trigger. Should it be done in real time? Should it be done one time per day, you know, and then you synchronize stuff? Yes, try to think a bit about the why. You know, why would it be useful to have then the same information on the two software? And then once you get a bit more information about that, you can think about developing it or not. Same, I mean, just before we discussed about the Telegram integration, maybe, so Microsoft Odoo integration, because of course there is the Office 365, and so it's a bit going to bring some noise here in that case. Teams integration, but yes, I'm not sure there is something maybe related only to project SharePoint. Yes, I'm not sure. So you need to check a bit what is available online. But yes, and if nothing is available online that you cannot reuse an existing app, then you need to maybe think about developing it yourself. And then it depends on your ability to do it and your knowledge, as I said, on both software, because in that case you need to become an expert of the API of both software to make sure it works in the right way. All right. Okay. Next question from Leonid. Is there any possibility in module CRM opportunities make field created on editable without Python coding interfere? I need to put my old opportunities in system with actual creation date, not today's date. Let's take a look at something. If I go to my CRM and the created on here, yes, okay. So I'm just going to check something. So if I put the created on date there, and I decide to, yes, actually it's not even in read-only on the view, it's only in read-only in database level. So indeed I cannot change it, whatever I'm doing. I don't even know indeed if there is a way to rewrite it the way we want through a server action. The thing is that it's a bit tricky because the value in the field I'm just going to check something. Server actions. Update record, and here if I take created on, yes. No. No, but I need first to select CRM opportunities, of course. Set the value to okay, let's put 0. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here nothing happens. That's a bit tricky because I don't exactly know here. Yes, what type of expression I need to put. Yes, I could maybe do something like. No, today is not working. But time is not going to work as well. Same, I don't know the expression by heart, but it's something that you can try, here to see if by playing with server action you are able to modify, the date of the created on. Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay, but that's still here indeed, like that's only something that you can do with Python code. It's true that just to answer your question, because it was first, like, do I need to use Python code to do it? I think you do. First, well, okay, so yes, first because let's say the field is in read-only in your database, so you cannot do it differently. You can try to force it, as I said, with a server action, but I'm not even sure it's possible because it's still in read-only at the database level, so it's not expected to be adapted, in a different way that what is planned in standard. But what I want to say is that what you could do, is simply to create your own field. If you want to do something different, and that you put a date here, which could be the original creation date. Like this. This field that you have, you are going to set it up, when you import your old opportunities in the system, that you get then the right date that is assigned to it here. And then for the newly created opportunity that you will create in Odoo, you can simply say that this field should be equal to this field. And that's something then that reduces a lot the cost of your development, and that could make it, yes, a bit lower in terms of Python code, but it should be tested because at the end, what's important is for you for me and for you to know what you want to do with this date. Is it for doing some reporting? And if that's the case, indeed, you need to have some consistency in between the two periods of time. If you don't want to use Python code at all, you could still have two different fields. So one for the old opportunities, one for the new ones. And you decide in a dashboard, for example, to make the comparison in between the two kind of record. And yes, and that's what you could do, and it's because in the dashboard, as it's a bit of Excel, you can indeed decide to not really care if it is, let's say, a new or a past opportunity. Arthur, can you shut down my mic for 1 second? Great. Okay. Next question from Shiva. In Odoo India invoice, product name is sent along with internal code. Or can we send only the name without the code? That's in the invoice stuff. That's a good question. That's not something that you can really change by yourself, as it is part of the module probably, and that the way it was coded. So unfortunately, here I think that's a feedback that you need to give as well from a support ticket, explaining that maybe for some reason it's something that you don't want to happen, because I'm not sure. I'm not in the India localization. I could be actually if I move maybe to another company there, and I put the India here localization. So it's loading, but maybe there is a setup, you know, where you can adapt it. I don't know. I'm not using it a lot, to be honest, to be able to give once again an answer based on my experience. But yes, let's see once it's loaded. So yes, maybe just to be checked indeed at the settings level. But if not, and that's something that you think is not relevant, and that you, let's say, based on some local legislation is something that is not relevant also for you, you could decide to ask the feedback to the support team and see what they think of it. Try to motivate as much as possible your question, you know, by providing maybe some practical examples about why you don't want it to happen, or why it is not relevant, or why you would like to have the option, you know, of not having it. So here, if I type invoicing, sales, yes, so accounting here. Yes, India integration. Yes, indeed. So, you know, like, you don't have much settings here to be accessible. As well, you have the documentation there. It's part of a module as well that is specific, the India invoicing, which is this one. And so probably if we take a look at the code of that module here, is that part of it? So it should be part of the standard. Yeah, of the community, probably, yeah. As it's only about invoicing. Exactly. ED format. Yeah, that's somewhere here that we can find exactly what information they are going to add, you know, to the report. Like, is it indeed the name or the full name of the product, with along with the internal reference? And yes, I mean, you know, if it's done like this, it's because it's somewhere here in the code that it is defined. So yeah, only a feedback that could be probably explained, you know, could make them think about a different way of doing it. So yes, to see if it is completely mandatory, or let's say, I mean, on your side, let's say it's not a possibility for you at all to have the internal code, or yes, or yes or no, and then you decide if you want to make the feedback and see how it goes. But it doesn't seem to be a standard option. All right, from Chapital, is there a way to export a purchase quotation to Excel format? If not, wanna modify the share report to show the vendor reference instead of my internal reference? Or do I can know what's the name of the field? Sorry, because your question is a bit difficult to answer, but okay, so you want to share in that report the vendor reference instead of your internal reference. Let's take a look at the purchase order. Yes, like this. And on my product, I have what we have is here the purchase tab. And in my purchase tab, I have my vendor product code here. So maybe my accessibility is not my best product for that. Let's take back my product track with SN here and put Abigail and a product code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, if I purchase something to Abigail, yes, you see, so I mean, so the code of my vendor in that case is going to be displayed because I purchased it to the corresponding vendor here, which is defined at my product level in the corresponding tab. So automatically, Odoo has removed my internal reference and replaced it with my vendor product code, you know, because they are not the same. And so, yes, here they are. Now, if you want to export it to Excel, now what you need to do is simply, okay, so this is your product ID field, but this part here is probably more about the description of your line. So let's take a look. If I decide to export it, okay, and I take a look at my lines. So I have, as I said, the description here, and I have the product there. And in my file then, yes, you see, so in the name, so in the description, I have here the reference that has been added, while in my column K, I have only the name of my product without the reference of my, of my vendor code product. So yeah, so that's a bit, you can get, you know, the difference in between both. So probably to answer your question, so in that case, it's not a field, because like, let's say the code of the vendor is not part of a specific field on your record, on your line, but it's part of the description of the line. So that's it. All right. Next question. So yes, the next one, how to add any extra information on product label print via Odoo Studio. Any extra information on product label print? Ah, yes, okay. Well, if I go to the product page, indeed, where I can print my label from there, I will see that if I, let's say, open my page, take a look at the report, I will not have access to my label format in PDF from here, okay? So it's not something that you can exactly, you know, edit by yourself very easily with Studio. You need to do it through some code. And for example, if I go in my views, and to take a look at the here label view, yes, here you see you get all of the specific label that you can print from a product. So if we compare, if I come back to a product here, well, not this one of course, but my product that I created, if I print my labels, I will see here all different formats, and all of these formats are part here of my list that I have in my views. So the only way of modifying here the content of my label and to add a new information is to come here and to modify the view itself. The view itself, indeed, something that you cannot do directly with Studio. Okay. I mean, still the principle is the same. It means that here, if you want to edit it as it stands, you need to do it through an inherited view, which means going there and create a view in order to explain exactly with an XPath what you're going to edit in the main view you are based on. So that's something indeed that you need to do like this, and yeah, and so it's a bit technical, but it's still feasible to do it. But you need to do it consciously and make sure that you do it in the very right way. For example, there, you know, you see that you have the product name, the product internal reference, default code as we saw before, the barcode. So all of them, you know, are added simply like this. So you need to just try investigate and add the information that you want a bit similarly to what is available here. Okay, so not via Odoo Studio, but still something that you can do from the interface, but by creating an inherited view if you want to do it. Good. Next question from Shafiuddin Haider. Oh, an employee. Yeah. Ah, yes, maybe to find one that is.
Those ones. There was a question about the OS, but I answered about like what devs do use.
Ah, yeah, okay. Maybe the last question is interesting to discuss a bit before leaving. Yes, so I need more understanding between paid users and employees. I mean, I have 100 employees, but not all of them using the system. How shall I manage to calculate purchase the Odoo licenses? I mean, I could tell you, yes, the more licenses you have, the best it is, because I think it's true, but it's also important from your point of view to make sure that you only pay license for users that will actively use Odoo. Okay, so that's really what you should think of, which means people that are going to daily, you know, need to connect to the database and use it to create record and to have an impact on the database. You know, some people ask me, okay, can I, you know, create one user that can be shared among different employees? it's not really the best solution that you can propose. For example, because in some cases, like they share the same access rights, while they should maybe not do it, and they are all doing some actions with the same name, and so you cannot track who has done what exactly in the database. So it's most of the case not really an option. It also depends, on the context. Do you use the shop floor application, for manufacturing? Do you use the point of sale, because in that case, employees can use it without having some paid licenses. But from a general point of view, I would suggest you then indeed to think about who should do most of the actions in the database from the start, and then think about the licensing that you think that you have at that moment. But indeed, employees only, so people who do not have access to the database will not be able to connect and do actions. So for example, if you are in a consultancy company and people need to timesheet, but they don't have access to the timesheet application because they are not users or paid users, they will not be able to do it. Same, if you want to play with the HR scope and people to manage their time offs and to manage their expenses, but they don't have access to the tool, same, they will not be able to do it if they don't have a license. So it really depends on your scope, on what you want to achieve, and then you need to find the right balance in terms of pricing regarding to what you want to achieve. You could also start by adding first a small number of users just to get used to the tool, and then increase it more and more. I decided to add more and more people on the tool. My main advice here would be that if you decide to pay a license to someone, make sure that he can do as much as possible in the tool, and that then you get rid of maybe some other tools that you have for now. And yes, because in my case, it's less. Like I said, you have less benefit if you are still shared across different software that you pay for at the same moment. So probably in that case, decided to go fully to Odoo is also a way to have more licenses, because of course you reduce the cost on the other side. So that's, I think, all of these things that you need to take into account when you think about the number of licenses that you have. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you very much for all of your questions, guys. It was a very interesting session today. We'll think again about the jingle of the Odoo Insider before the next session. But still, thank you very much, and then see you next week for a new regular Q&A session.